All right, howdy guys. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I wanted to share with y'all, for most of my career, I've been in the woods or in the shop or fabricating and stuff like that out at the sawmill or in the woods, at the company. Here in the past year or a little more, I've started transitioning into the mill to help in the mill. Now I've got a long ways to go in sawmill and got a lot to learn. And I've been finding out, of course, we've always done this in the past. When you're lost and you don't know what you're doing and you need education in the hardwood industry, we go to National Hardwood Lumbermen's Association, NHLA. It's down in Memphis, Tennessee. And they have one heck of a school down there. And it is thick with history, thick with tradition, but yet it changes for the times. And some of the stuff that all them guys have got going on today is very good. And Mark Bear got on me and said I need to get signed up for this process control, I believe is what it's called. Very good class. And it teaches you about how to check what you're doing, control your costs, your manufacturing costs, and the loss in wood waste and stuff like that, or grade waste, But them types of subjects, you could go on for weeks on each little individual piece. But this here was kind of a 4-day class to to help a bunch of mill managers and the sort, to get us trained up a little bit and educate us a little bit to do our jobs better for everybody in our companies, because things are very tight right now. This is a hard time in the industry right now. But I end up, the chief inspector, Jeff, Benji, Dana, all three of them gave presentations. Mark was in there with us, and a few instructors I haven't met yet. Benji trained me out of grade. Mark Bear comes in quite often and teaches and keeps us up to power. Kevin's helped us. Mark Depp, he's helped. He taught me how to buy logs. Basically, Mark Depp has. So anything that you need done in a hardwood sawmill, or even on the dried side, we went to the dry kiln there. Got to see a good sawmill, Carter's. We got to see the Carter's and. I fell in love with his little tie mill. I love that. And then we went to, I forget, put the name of the place up, Tater. We actually sold them cherry just a week ago or so. Went to this dried lumber yard and went through the air yard, the kilns, the packaging after the kilns. Went through all kinds of quality control processes and stuff for that. It blowed my mind. I don't know how many pages of notes. Y'all don't think I'm bull messing you, but I don't know. Jeff, your class was full of notes, and Dana's was too, and Benji's. I got a few notes from your class too. I don't know. Benji, I had one page from Benji. Now, just if you're watching this, Jeff, I got of course, I'm just riding Benji. He knows a lot. He's taught me a lot. But because it's me and Benji's little personality, we got to ride each other. But I got 4 pages of note, 5 pages of note from Jeff. I got 4 pages of note from Dana, and I got a little paragraph from Benji. Just so you know, Benji, I'm going to share. And Jeff, you can take that, you use that for bragging rights. But no, all of them did a great job. It was fantastic. But then one evening, and they cooked for us every evening. Benji said, I'm tired of eating out. He kind of, they say the loudest wheel gets a grease. Well, Benji's the loudest wheel around here. Well, I don't know. Mark Bear's pretty loud. But anyways, he said, we've been driving. They travel all over our area training. They even got one in Canada, an inspector in Canada too, or 2. I think he's got a helper helping him now, and then there's another inspector might be coming on too. So Canada's got some too up there. But Benji goes, we're tired of eating out. We want to cook here. So they got a grill and everything there at the school, and they cooked for us every night. Guys, the food was awesome. But one evening after we got done eating, I conned Dana into, he's the chief inspector, I conned Dana into giving us a little bit of a tour of the school. And then the next morning we toured their office. So first will be a tour through the school, and then a tour through the office. We all had a supper and everybody's hanging out. Do you want to take a tour inside? This is the chief inspector, Dana.
Yeah, let's do a tour.
Let's go see it. This is an NHLA headquarters.
Yeah, this is the NHLA Inspector Training School where we're at right now. So let's see what we got.
This place is cool. It's the first time I've ever been here.
So,
and how many years has it been here?
This building has been here since, we opened it up in 1980, but the school itself has been here since 1948. So that we started after World War II to help train the vets coming back.
You started with the golden generation.
We did. And, you know, one of the things we'll see out here is the pictures, but we'll go through this way here to start with. We call some of this our history room, but it's also our library, if you will. So if you look around, see all these books, and this is set up to 2 separate classrooms, which we have used in the past. But it's got cherry paneling on the sides, and as you can see, the cherry starts out as a light pinkish red color, and over time it gets darker. And one of the interesting things I tell people is walnut actually gets lighter.
Walnut gets lighter with time, and cherry gets darker.
So it's very interesting. I'm not sure how these pictures came about, but one of the interesting things, if you see this picture right here with all the logs floating in the river, and then you look at this picture over here with the marks and stamps, basically they branded their logs based on who owned those logs. And then they'd float them all together. So if you see those logs in the river, those are multiple owners, different landowners, different timber cutters.
And they all float together.
And they pull them out based on the brand. That's who got them, just like cattle.
Huh.
So those are some big old logs back in the day. This is our old logo, which is for the longest time since 1948 or 1898 when we started. This was the original logo, and we've since rebranded and changed our logo, which you'll see around the building. But I mean, this up here was the traditional way before chainsaws, how they cut a tree down, that and an axe. So that's great to have. All the flooring you'll see in our building is all hardwoods. This is hard maple flooring here in what they call parquet flooring. There's little pieces, and now they made those into like 2-foot squares, glued onto something else, and then they laid down like tile almost. And this is a lot of our history over the years. One of the stories I was told not too long ago, and unfortunately it's missing, one of our students over the years, there was a paper airplane that was folded, and in that shelf from, at the time, was the world record holder in the longest flight of a paper airplane. The guy came to school here to learn how to grade lumber, but that airplane, he signed it and it was in there for a long time. But if you get it to the classroom, he threw that plane out through the classroom doors open all the way across the shed, and it landed in the lumber on the other side.
Wow.
Airplane.
Wow.
Single flight. And then in this cabinet we have some stuff that was, it's kind of on loan to us from one of our members, but it was stuff he had collected over the years, and then we retired. It was in his office. So it's Susan and Ron Carlson from USA Wood. And a lot of us is cooperage, but it's all hand tools and a lot of history and that stuff. And then the other thing, if you look up high, these pictures up here, there was an artist that drew these for NHLA, and each one of them are different species of hardwood trees,
Leaves.
the leaves, the nut, and all that, and they are just gorgeous. And the guy that drew them truly was not an artist when he started. He
Wow.
made like postcards, and one of our leaders at the NHLA saw that guy's postcards and said, "Can you do this?" And he said, "Well, I'll give it a shot." and one of the most interesting things in there, Unfortunately, his daughter.
Who's this? Sorry to break it.
Yep.
Who's this here?
Shoot, I can't remember. He was one of the.
Founders?
Yeah, I think so.
Can't even see
Is it
on this.
Nicely, maybe.
Yes, yes. Couldn't catch his first name. William Nicely.
Yeah. So in this one picture over, his daughter got hit by a car when he was drawing. It's this one right here. If you see that, and if you look at the left side of the tree, you'll see a picture of her face in there. He drew her face in.
Oh wow, you can
She's
see
just
it.
A young girl. I can't remember what her age was, but isn't that amazing?
What a sweet.
And you don't even know it unless you're actually looking, and you'll see it.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Wow.
Now, one of the
Look at the lumber sticks. Now,
Yeah.
how old is some of these sticks?
Oh, it's hard to tell, but I can
That
tell.
one's definitely
Yeah,
old
'cause
now.
they used to all be 3-line. And they were for smaller, but they were a lot more flexible because they're narrow.
Now, 3-line was 8s, 10s, and 12s.
Well, it was yeah, I think so. And then on the other side, I forget what it was. It was, but I think they had 12s, 14s, 16s on one side, 8, 10s, 10s, and 18s on the back. Right there's a fiberglass lumber roll. You ever seen one of them?
No.
They made these, I think, out of Canada, and they were a guaranteed for life. And
Okay.
that company went out of business because when you got
Because people
cold,
kept replacing them.
when they got cold, they'd shatter. So
Yeah.
and there's actually a metal one around here somewhere. I don't think it's in here, but we have one that's made out of metal that a guy had.
How did that work?
I'm sure it wasn't that great, especially when it got cold. I'm sure that cold metal wasn't fun. Then if you come out,
This will blow y'all's mind. I seen this and I was blown away.
one of the things we pride ourselves in is every graduating class gets their picture on the wall. And I think this only goes back to the early 90s, maybe mid 90s back here. So I'm thinking, is that 98? Something like that.
94.
94. So you get up here, we used to have 3 classes a year every year here, and you can see how many students that we would have every class. And even behind you here, we put some over here to try to conserve space, but they go all the way down the hall. If you turn that around that way, you'd see them all the way back.
Well, some of them's in the
19
classroom.
Yeah, this is all from 1948. They come around, and I can't remember the year here. This would have been maybe up here.
I see a 96, a 97, and a 98.
And then it starts back in here. And this is another room that we use. We open this wall up here. This is part of where we do our graduation. We can have the classroom. This is a big room. And then it just keeps going along this wall.
Some of the ones from from 48.
Yeah,
We'll get all the way
we'll
back.
get out there and see those. But they continue on through.
So this is where the graduation room is?
Well, you open this up, and we use the classroom and this. So this
For-
this is a really big room when you open that air wall up.
Gotcha.
It's really nice. But you can just kind of show those. These are all the instructors we've had since 1948.
Oh, wow. 1948. E. Schwarzenball.
And here's Lillard nicely.
Okay.
This guy here was pretty famous. This Otis Goolsby, he was my dad's instructor. He had a twin brother that worked for NHLA. My dad would tell stories about his twin brother would come in off the road sometimes and come in, and they couldn't tell the difference in it because they both smoked a pipe. He said they sounded the same. So you'd think, oh, Otis is in there, he's in there resting. His brother would show up and they'd be like, oh, he's done come out and taught us. But you know, when we started here, it was 5.5 month class.
Here's the bunches from the 70s.
Yeah, yeah. And then you can see it goes from that into black and white pictures from there all.
Yeah, so the first colored picture was
Yeah.
1973 from the graduating class of
And I
1973.
had met at least 2 guys out of that class, and they both told me they brought color to the NHLA. And, the one guy was serving on our board, but he told me that story. Of course, they go all the way to the door.
They are some cool. We went through the 50s and you could see them, the beatniks.
Oh yeah.
There was,
Yeah, you get
so they
into
had a
50s
summer
right there.
class. Yeah, here's
And
there's the
you keep
50s,
going,
there's
you'll get
58.
Right in here.
Here, right, and there's the
This is-
beatniks. Look at all the beatniks and
Yeah.
stuff.
These are the ones that used to roll their cigarettes up in their shirt.
Yeah,
sleeve.
I bet there's some cigarettes
I
rolled up in
guarantee
some of
you
these
can
shirt
see it.
sleeves.
Be like Fonzie from.
Yeah. Hey. And then some of them look all the way back to the Is this the first class?
This is the first one, and
The very first class.
I have met a gentleman from this. I think he's since passed away, but not just like recently. Can you imagine that? Went through school in 1948, came to a couple of our conventions.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a great honor to have him there. I mean, he was just full of life too.
From the first class.
First class.
Look at these characters.
Yeah.
Good generation.
Yeah. This is back when everything was done manually. So these guys earned a living. I can promise you that.
Look how big the classes was back then.
The
amazing. Industry was so much fuller of people back then.
Yeah,
you know
right, because it was more manual labor and everything you did. My dad would tell stories even in the 60s. When he started grading, they would stack all the lumber up off the mill into a big, big stack, like a whole carload, like 30,000 feet in one stack. And they would leave boards stick out for the grader to climb up. So my dad would carry a lunch bucket and his tally book and his lumber rule up the side of that pack and get up on top, and one guy up there with him, and he would flip it, and the guy would throw them down to the guys on the ground. Then they'd pull them into packs. Wow. And he said by halfway down it was lunchtime. So then he'd sit down with his lunch, eat his lunch, and then they'd finish out. And then the day he was on the ground.
He stood his whole day
on the pack of lumber. So you can imagine when they had to go to the restroom, it just happened wherever it happened. I mean, it's just the way things are.
And that everybody's how they come up with sap stain.
That's right. And this is the actual classroom where we can seat over 70 students in here. All hardwood. You ain't seen anything but hardwood yet.
The floors
are also parquet red oak in here, and then these right here is truck bed flooring, is what that.
Yeah. 2 and 3 common, ain't it?
Yep. So there's a use for about everything out of a tree.
Yep. Look how small the pieces get.
Yeah. And that's all turned on its edge. So those are probably 1.25 inches thick, inch wide, maybe 1.25 inches, but close.
Look at the floor and everything. This is so cool.
It looks pretty good since 1980, doesn't it? We've refreshed it at least once, because I was here when we did that.
Where's your latest class?
Oh,
it's up here somewhere?
It's actually in that other room over there. I think it was all the way around.
So this will be...
I've been here since...
There's 2016.
Yep.
Oh, that looks good. Now I see what he's talking about on the graduation wall. That is good.
Yeah. Of course, we teach other things other than just lumber grading here too.
Yeah. We've been learning. What was our class technically called?
Statistical process control. So
yeah, and that was more for the mill managers.
Yeah, so analyzing the processes and making sure that you can measure and improve the processes. So
I'm gonna show them this too.
Yeah.
So this is basically what would you call this? The board we all grade. This
is the grading chart, and it has all the rules down to a simplified form. So you could literally, if you understand it, that's all you need for reference.
Yes.
If you understand the grades.
We keep this hanging above our grading station.
Yep.
This needs to be posted in all kinds of places in the mill.
It should be.
Yep.
Of course, we have it hanging here just for reference for the students, but when they take a test, it gets taken down.
They're supposed to remember that.
So this is the last class we actually have up here. There will
23.
be, and that was actually not even taught here at the school, but see, there's always the difference between where they're sitting. This was done here, obviously, but this one was done from a different class away, and Tom was actually the instructor there, Tom Byers.
Got you.
So that's this side of the building. You would do the other side, maybe we do it in the morning.
Yeah, maybe in the morning we'll capture the other side.
One of the greatest things about this building is NHLA, the only thing they did here was bought property. And back then, this was like a cow pasture in the 80s. Because when I came to school here, there wasn't none of this stuff around. So it was relatively cheap. And then the industry donated all the funds and the lumber to build this, both sides. And you go around and you'll see these plaques of all the major donors, and then we have some other plaques for some of the, what you call minor donors. But the industry just came together and said, we want NHLA to be in Memphis, because at the time we were in Chicago. So we started out as an association in 1898. The school that part of it started in Memphis in 1948, right down here in Memphis. Then whenever they decided to build, because they needed a new school building, and they decided if we're gonna have the school on a different property, let's bring the office down from Chicago. So it's been on this site since 1980, roughly. And that's what this is, just the history of the 125 years was last year, our anniversary. It was 75 years for the school. And the school started based on VA saying, hey, we need some way to train these vets coming back. Yeah.
That's why the 1948 date.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
We actually, I don't want to say it because it'd be on the record. The first class was held in 1946, but we don't, and that was just VA students.
Okay.
And then it started from there. A lot of this is almost like an obituary, but it's the same part. There's a lot of companies on there that's no longer business.
That's like they still do business, but it ain't.
All white oak?
It's all way. We started to replace, because we have a sprinkler system up there, it's a dry system. And we told the guy that's like, we need to replace those pipes and all that, because they're getting old. The guy looked it over, he said, I'll tell you what, he said, the pipes will cost you like 10 grand to replace. But taking all that shit down costs you 50. I'm like, well, we're not replacing those anytime soon. But it was just because they're gonna take each piece down, mark it, and they're gonna put it back exactly where it was at. This office is mine, and it happens to have, I'll let you guys guess. Don't look at the thing, tell me what pieces that is on the walls.
Floor's walnut.
Yeah. Don't look at the picture, because it is the right one. And don't pay attention to my golf trophies. Directors got fired.
This here's butternut on the walls.
It broke. I'm not sure how that happened. I'm sure it was just a.
I've only seen 3 butternut trees in my life.
So this is Ashley's office.
I've never seen wood from one.
It's got good old. But remember, it's got age on it, so you'd have to.
Well, yellow.
You'd have to say.
Not white, it's yellow.
Yellow poplar. So on the floor
Maple.
here we got hard maple.
Yeah. Yeah,
This
yellow
is-
poplar walls.
Yep. And they do yellow.
Yeah.
Every time.
You've got a little mineral in there, don't you?
Oh yeah. Actually, that's what makes it beautiful. You like this floor? You know they're looking to clear pieces. That right there is beautiful to me. As long
Yeah,
as you
I
don't
got.
have
That's why I got my
holes-
bedroom curly soft maple or curly hard maple.
As long as you don't have holes for the dirt to get stuck in.
Mhm.
I mean that. As a lumber grader, when you're grading FAS, it's
Character.
the most boring thing you do all the time.
Yep.
But if you look at that, it's like got character to it. You know?
Yep.
And it's a lot more.
If you get the lighting just right on hard maple, it's mystic looking
Oh, yeah.
in the
Yeah.
curly part.
it's almost 3D.
Like where that white area is, it'll look mystic there in the right light.
This flooring got donated to us from Graf Brothers.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-column white oak. So your competitors over there donated this floor to us when we had to replace it recently. So over here is all the presidents, past presidents up to the current one, which is, you know him, John Siree right there. You call him Jonathan.
Wow.
And their terms is 2-year terms. That's why they're so daggone many, and we've been around a while. Yeah. And there's 3 classifications at the NHLA. Get your picture on the wall. One's the president, one's the executive directors, which is on the wall to your right over there, and then on the left is chief inspector. Well, it was several years, and
Was this a Kennedy? No, it's Bradford.
Yeah, I don't know, put my picture up. And then I started looking at myself in the mirror, and I thought, I ain't getting any younger, so I'm gonna put it up there now.
Just go take a picture and preserve it.
Yeah.
And then
put it up.
bring it out of the archives. Yeah, those other pictures next to you are pretty old. Which Tim does.
Yeah. No, this is just our conference room here, where it's got, this is too clear, in my opinion, it's hard to make a sugar mix. But we did put cherry on the floor. Different, and we'll look at it in a second. But this all cherry in the middle, and they didn't have enough to do the whole room, so they trimmed it with white oak and then walnut strip, and it actually made it look really nice.
What's your conference room?
Yeah. Someday it'll be my office. Yeah. I got too much shit, too many golf tournaments. common area you saw right back there, it used to be nothing but cubicles. They had like 30 employees working here.
Really?
Yeah. Now you got to think back. There was the phones were not the same back in the day.
Yeah.
You didn't have emails and computers, so everything was written or typed, and so they had people always communicating, but it had to be typed up and then mailed out. So we had a whole team of people doing a lot of those different things. Plus, we had a research group, a technical research group. We had a forestry department at some point. So we grew really big, and then started going back the other way, kind of along with our industry, because in 1999 was the peak production. And ever since
This was the fullest in '99.
yeah, it would have been around 99. It'd been most employees we ever had in the office.
Before
field
the
team-
offshore started.
Yeah, we used to have a field staff of over 125 inspectors. You saw the guys. That's all of them in there with us. So that's it now. And it's sad, but it's just the way the market goes. And then things change. And if you don't change with it,
Yeah. Yep.
you'll be on that wall with your name and
Yep.
everything.
Yep.
So they built this on, I think it was like 92. And they used the same theme on the walls. The only thing they did different, they put regular strip white oak flooring down here. I gotta tell you this story real quick. When I first came down here to work in 2010, I'm walking along this wall and this picture was turned this way. And I'm sitting there looking at that board and I said, there's no way that board goes uphill. That defeats the law of nature. There's
Somebody
no
just
way.
put the picture in
They
wrong.
just didn't understand. It was kind of funny. Now this is our COO's office, Renee Hornsby. She's got, what's that, willow? Is that what that is? I
What?
don't know. Is that willow?
What, the wood?
Yeah. You don't know. My foot. I don't see much willow.
Well, no.
Craig probably did.
It'd be black willow, wouldn't it?
It is black willow.
Yep.
Where's Cyrene's office at?
He don't have an office here.
I can drive it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool.
Yeah. And there's a lot more stories that I don't know about because our membership guys want to use these tours. So he's got all this stuff memorized.
Is there a light switch in here?
Oh, there is. See that?
How's the area,
Yes, I bet. Good. Yeah. So you've got on that first one there, I believe that's gum, isn't it? Okay, so you got red gum there, which is just not sorted gum. And you got elm in this office. You got some sweet gum.
This is a USS Constitution.
Yep. That's pretty cool. We,
You know, we've cut timber by right where the white oak for that comes from.
really?
Yep. Crane Naval Base.
And then this office here, I like to show people, you cut much hickory?
No.
Oh, God.
You look at this.
Burn that office down.
Well, you look at this
I
office.
hate hickory.
Because remember, it's donated, right? And it makes it pretty obvious why some of that was donated if you look at that top piece in the back.
As soon as I turn the light
Yeah.
on,
Yes, ticker stain.
that's
Yep.
what you see them pigs. That's what brings it up.
Yeah.
Bird pigs.
Yeah, people.
How many saw changes you think it took to get this little
Yeah,
room?
yeah, yeah.
Look at that top skirt board up there.
Yeah.
Sticker stain.
Yeah.
That's that.
Look at that. It's pretty cool looking. you know?
No, we still have plenty of
That
them.
cleans up way
Oh
better
yeah,
than I
thank
thought.
you for that.
Hackberry?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never seen
Yeah, that's actually kind of pretty. We have no market for it. Pallet.
any. We've only cut it one time since I've been there, and it was just because we got enough of it to separate off some one track.
We get a decent amount of hackberry.
Yeah.
But there's not, it just canting. You can't make a tie out of
Better
it.
than what I thought it would.
If people mistake that for ash all the time, I was over in China and they're like, this ash doesn't seem right. And they're like, oh, it does look a little different than normal.
Cypress.
It's in our rules book,
Yep. Pecky cypress.
but it's not a hardwood. That's why it says on the front of the rules cover, it says
Yeah.
hardwood and cypress.
Yeah.
Yeah, they,
So there's your
That's-
Pecky
that's-
stuff.
Yeah, that's the cypress everybody wants. For the interior. You know this building is clad on the outside by cypress.
Really?
The whole building, both sides.
I think it's a pretty wood.
And it's been on there since 1980. And the only thing on it is a paint to change the color, which pisses me off. They could have just put a stain on it, but the paint actually creates a lot, but it holds the water in. And you can see there, that was where we had the forest stewardship council. Because it takes a lot of staff to keep up with all this stuff. And this was for the additional building the people donated. Now this is used to be an office, and I'll tell you a story about this when everybody gets over here. But it's the only non-native species.
I like where they laid it.
Yeah. Well,
That is cool.
the problem is the stuff warps so bad, they had to cut it small pieces, sort of like rubberwood. They don't really have any choice but to make small pieces. 'Cause
Really?
They just,
I didn't know that.
Well, what is it?
we're still missing him. Brandon? I want to tell you a story about this office right here. Used to be an office, of course, now it's a printer station. And I need to stay here to tell it. So first of all, it's Luan. This is wood that grows over in Asia somewhere, I guess Malaysia or somewhere. But my instructor when I came to school was Bob Savastino. I don't know if any of you guys know him. But Bob Savastino was the chief inspector after that. So he was a field inspector, then he became the instructor, and then he became chief inspector. But when I was in school at 86, he was the instructor. When I got hired on, Bob had left NHLA, but then got contracted back to work in China for us. So I get hired on in 2010, Bob worked for me. Which I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but it's awesome to have your teacher be working for you at some point. But the guy, he was a good storyteller. And he said, I got to tell you a story about that office over there, the old chief inspector's office. And he said, you know that one that has all the printers and the copiers and stuff in it? I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. He said, you ever notice that oily spot on the wall? And matter of fact, the first time I walked in there, I saw that. You guys see it?
Oh, yeah.
And he said, his boss then was chief inspector, and I'm not going to mention any names. He said he used that Dapper Dan or whatever that stuff was in his hair, and that's where he slept. That's what he told me. That's why that greasy spot's there. So I thought, that's a pretty good story. So anyway, that's what I say about imported wood. So. You recognize that species?
An alder?
Yeah. So that stuff's been there since 1980.
Oh, wow.
So it does change a little color, but
Yeah.
you know they sell that stuff for cherry over in China.
Well, beech.
It's red.
Yeah.
Because it's red.
Beech is really taking its toll on alder a lot.
Is it?
Yeah, because
Okay,
it's a
European
white wood.
beech,
You can stain it to whatever you want,
Yeah.
and you get it a lot cheaper.
Now here was the staples. Birch was like in the 70s. It seemed like all cabinets were made out of that stuff. But it's kind of fallen out of trend, except the Canadians produce a lot of it, and the Northeast produce a lot of it, and they have markets for it all over the world. So
Really?
it's still selling. I mean, they've got some tough competition.
The contrast is kind of pretty.
Yeah.
I've been traveling all month. I've only been in the office 4 days this month, so.
Howdy.
He's got 4 kids at home, and his wife is in Europe. That's right. So, I don't know how he juggles it all. But in here, this was the office that got flooded the most, but this whole end of the building was flooded. That's why it's all fairly new floors. And the one thing I like to point out, this is supposed to be hickory. Now I say that, and most of it is. But if you can point out the species that's not hickory there, and that's why I say I can understand why the flooring guys messed up. Most people don't catch it, but it just bugs the crap out of me when I see the boards in here. There's a couple maple boards.
Yep, and an ash or two.
Yeah. So it's like, I wish they would have asked somebody. I guess it was in the hickory pile and they just put it down.
Well, it's a good conversation piece.
Yeah. Now if they would have put them over to the wall or something, I wouldn't be. But every time I see them, but the thing we was talking about last night on the other side with those cherry walls, how dark they got. Look around here. Everywhere
Yeah.
it didn't have something covering it, like
It
behind
got
the door.
lighter.
You come in.
Back door.
Yeah, behind the door. how dark that is.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
it doesn't see much light.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
and people say they want, yeah, they want that dark, rich color, and then
Yeah.
like, you should be buying cherry if you want it to be that way in the future. If you want it instantaneous, of course you do walnut. And I'm not degrading either one; they're both great species.
Yep.
But
We love them all.
yeah,
It's our
we love
jobs to
them all,
love them all.
but it's
They're
just-
like children.
Yep. And then Dow's got one heck of a collection of different things. He's a wood collector.
Value added wood.
So here's the North American Wingy, and this is thermally modified. Right?
Thermally modified red oak.
And this was different levels, different time in
different
there,
temperatures.
different temperatures in there. So all that's been thermally modified. You could explain that better because you were in that world for a while, right? So I just gave a brief.
Yeah,
understanding.
so the brief of thermal modification
That
is
was.
you're baking the wood just like you bake a cake, right? When you bake a cake, it doesn't start to cook until you get all the moisture out. So the first thing thermal modification does is it reduces the moisture content to 0. Once all the moisture's out of the wood, then it crystallizes the hemicellulose, which is the sugars in the wood, the cell structure. And when it crystallizes that hemicellulose, it becomes less shrinking and swelling, right? Like, so if you look at a cake doesn't shrink and swell as much because it's, it's got light and fluffy. So we're making the wood light and fluffy. And so it becomes lighter. Water can go in and out, but it won't shrink and swell as much. It'll actually take more water capacity.
really? I didn't know
Again,
that.
because the cell structure is crystallized, so it's got more free water in it, but it won't shrink and swell as much. So it's more stable. And then it's got a darker color.
Does the characteristics of the red oak add to it? Where like it's got the straw characteristics the red oak does?
Absolutely, the characteristics add to it. You do lose some strength again because you've taken that structure, and crystallized it so that it's no longer, that nice bond. So you lose some structural strength, but for appearance-wise and most purposes, it's really
And
nice.
it works great for decking because it's only 5/4 out there.
So, and it can be done in structural applications.
And
And it
over-
can be done pretty much to any species.
Yeah. Over in Europe, they do a lot of yellow poplar for cladding on the outside of the building.
You can do it with yellow poplar too.
To the ship. And they put it in there for cushion to put missiles and stuff down in there. Because when I was just started in the 80s, that's when, the Gulf War was going on? And so there was a lot of military buying up like frame stock lumber. They just needed it air dried, and they would just take it and just dump it down in that ship and set missiles down in on top of it for a cushion. And it's like, just blows my mind. But they used to bulk load all ships. They used
So it's
to put
like
it down-
packing peanuts for
Yes.
missiles.
Yes.
So I guess as they're putting more missiles in it, the missiles already in its own crates?
They would be in the crates, but it was all cushion.
But so because it's sitting on
Yeah.
a steel ship, I'll be darned. But now I didn't have the camera on, and you said something really cool. But what was that? You said the war effort. You had what here for war effort?
Not necessarily at this office, but NHLA had a war, what did I call it? It's a war commission. And that group was to figure out the best way to get the right wood to the military.
And that was World War I or II or both? Both.
Really?
Yep.
And World War I, that's some of that was actually used for
For-
transportation.
And airplanes.
But in World War II, the daggone thing would have been used more for ammo crating and
one
stuff.
of our members in, I believe it's in Ohio, they made propellers for World War I planes. I mean, they've been a member of NHLA for over 100 years. And it's like, so those kind of stories people don't remember. Most everything was made out of wood at some point, and that was more the prototype for other things, but it still worked. Heck, we won, right? So
Yeah,
we're still here.
yeah.
So wood
They
is
didn't have
good.
enough. They probably didn't have enough wood.
Yeah, they probably didn't. That's exactly right. They didn't know how to take care of their resources.
I will say this, after watching all this and editing it, I was so sick of hearing me talk when I shouldn't be talking. I want to apologize to my classmates, to the instructors. I'm sorry I cannot keep my stupid mouth shut once in a while. And it drives me nuts too. So guys, I want to apologize for driving you all nuts because it drives myself nuts. But thank you everybody for the experiences. To meet all the guys, my classmates, man, I've met some cool classmates. And I'd like to reach out to some of y'all in the future because that was really, really, it was amazing. Craig's a quiet one, and everybody get a kick out of this out of the classroom. Craig's a quiet one, and he has been there and done that, and you can't get no words out of him. So everybody's in there. As soon as Craig goes to talk, the whole class is like, whoop. and then I go to talking. Whew. God, Wade learned to shut up. But anyways, hope everybody had a good one. Thanks everybody for watching. Hit likes and comments and stuff. And anybody needs any help out there, look up the NHLA. Look them up online. Call in there. Talk to them. And they'll get you set up for classes and that sort of thing. Like the game of logging always did the classes for us out in the woods. NHLA is for the actual dimension product, the factory lumber and the sort. It is what a neat industry. Man, I love this industry. Everybody have a great one. Over and out.